What about icons? Is that something that you can see eye to eye on, or is that different?
Yeah, I think theologically we would say we see eye to eye, but again, this goes to one of those areas where there's a deeper understanding that's really changed over time in the West. And so their religious art has moved from the theological iconography that you see all around us here and that Orthodoxy has preserved, and they've gone towards a more realistic kind of Renaissance or Enlightenment type of view with statues, and the deeper meaning behind it isn't always necessarily there.
But if they've got a painting of St. Dominic, St. Dominic isn't in the room, it's a painting, whereas that's not a painting, that's an icon that I'm looking at right there of the great martyr Irene. Like she's in the room out of time.
We would say this. We would say there's an illustration a priest used once. I like this a lot, where he said he'd go out to the outside of his house and he'd stick his cheek up against the glass, and the kids from the inside would go and they'd kiss his cheek, and he'd ask them, "Who did you kiss?" And they'd say, "You, Papa." And he'd say, "But what did your lips touch?" They'd say, "Glass." And he'd say, "This is the way icons work, and this is kind of how we view them. We're venerating, wood and paint, but that veneration is passed on to the figure, and there's a real presence of the figure there." And of course, that's not to say I pick up an icon of St. Paul and say, "This is St. Paul." Of course not. Of course not. This is not St. Paul, but this icon somehow is this connecting point between us.